Hello there. This is David from David Books and Comics, and today I want to talk about Jin Yong, or Louis Cha, as he was known in Hong Kong. Louis Cha wrote 14, 15 actually, stories and novels that were eventually serialized in a newspaper that he started called the Ming Pao Chinese speaking newspaper in Hong Kong. This is the first novel that was published in the West. It's called Fox Volant in the Snowy Mountain, as by Jin Yong, and it was translated by Olivia Mock. Now, Louis Cha was born in China in 1924 in Zhejiang province, and he moved to Hong Kong in 1948, right at the beginnings of the communist takeover of China under Mao Zedong. And in 1949 or thereabouts, he began the newspaper called the Ming Pao, and became the editor and one of the founders, if not the founder, of the newspaper. And in that paper, he serialized many of these fiction novels, which were what's called wuxia fiction. And wuxia is what's called martial arts fiction. Martial arts fiction is the popular literature of China. It's like the science fiction or the thriller novels of the Chinese diaspora. And this type of fiction existed in China right till before our version of the Middle Ages, right before the Sung Dynasty. These stories were told in marketplaces and public places, told as stories, and featuring these heroes who were just on the outside of the law, but were free to act always with a sense of justice, a sense of righteousness and integrity that maintain these virtues of justice and a looking out for the ones who are in need. The closest I could think of in Western fiction, anyway, is the ancient stories of King Arthur that were compiled in Le Mort de King Arthur, and in the stories that would have eventually became the Adventures of Robin Hood. It's more akin to that type of fiction than anything else. But what the unique thing about wuxia that takes place in this fantasy world called jianghu, or the rivers and lakes as it's translated, is unique because it is ultimately, I mean, if you're talking about flying swordsmen and, superhuman martial arts skills, really and truly, this is really the elements that you'd expect to read and hear in fantasy. Anyway, so Jin Yong was one of these popular writers, and he shared the stage in writing with a host of other martial arts writers. Before him was a writer named Wang Dulu, where if you've seen the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons, you would have come across the writings of, that would have been one of Wang Dulu's novels. And then after that, his contemporaries were Chen Wentong, who was Yang Yusheng, that was his pseudonym for his novels. And there was in China another writer named, in Taiwan, there was another writer named Gulong. So this is the first novel written in the West. This was, as you see on the top here, it's a new edition. The original edition was published in 1993, the first edition. This one features a cover that is atypical of martial arts novels and covers. And as you can see, we can flip through it and have a look. Yeah, so this is the new edition, and it says there second edition, 1996, Chinese University Press. And at the beginning of each chapter, you'll find some elements and pictures of what you'd expect to see in a martial arts novel. The story itself is about the main protagonist is a fellow named Fox Hu, and it's about these clans who are historically linked. They knew of each other. There's 4 clans. One that belongs to the main antagonist, and another one that belongs to the main protagonist, Fox Hu. The 2 fellows that you see on the cover are Meow, and the other one with the red sash or whatever it is that's flowing from his head is Fox Hu. And they eventually confront each other. And there's elements of drama and romance throughout. That's why you see that the main protagonist's girlfriend there on the cover. All right, so it's a well-written story. It's really written in the form of a mystery novel, which is kind of unique for martial arts fictions, because they generally are, I mean, they always contain elements of mystery, but they're generally really focused on the action between the characters. So this was the first. And the second one I'll show you, also written by Jin Yong. And that's this novel, The Deer in the Cauldron. And it was published in 3 volumes. The 3rd volume took forever to get published. Anyway, this is which makes the 3rd volume actually more valuable. So this is a second impression, published in 1997. So this is the first edition, published in 1997. And this story is the last novel that Jin Yong, or Louis Cha, actually wrote. It was first serialized, as I said, in the newspapers in Ming Pao. And it features a character named Trinket Wei, who is a conniving character. As a young man, the first opening scene is a martial arts scene, actually, and you have him growing up in what is known to be a housing for prostitutes. And he eventually connives his way, if you can imagine this, into the imperial palace. The lead character, Trinket Wei, or Wei Xiao Bao, he basically connives his way into everything. He really leads the whole story. It's his character that leads the story and leads the plot. He is lazy, but smart and conniving, and eventually becomes a eunuch within the imperial palace, and eventually befriends the emperor. But at the same time, he becomes linked to the Red Lotus Society, or the local triads who are trying to overthrow the. At this time, it's the Qing dynasty, so it's the Qing emperor. I believe he's Kang Zi. So it's it's actually a very funny read, and at times fun with the elements. Very funny, but at times with the elements of martial arts fiction and kung fu that you'd expect to see in this type of fiction. So this is the first volume, and this is the second volume. And on the cover is, I believe that's one of the emperors. I just flip through here, see if it says at the back. Or usually, yeah, right there. So the jacket cover shows the emperor as hermit. So the emperor is Yongjing. All right, so it shows a map of China. And it gives you the historical context of the novel. So this is the second book in the series. And this is for some reason, the more expensive one of the volumes. And it has, the translator is John Minford, but it's a little bit more abbreviated, and in my view, not as good as the first two volumes. But it does give you the climax. And on the cover, the reason why you see those five women is because the main character eventually adopts five wives as a eunuch, if you can imagine that. So that's the third book in the series. All three novels, which I've read, are excellent translations, and one of the best translations of Chinese martial arts fiction that I've read thus far. In the more recent times, I'll just put this aside here. This series came out, and this is A Hero Born. And this is the most recent of all of his fiction. This is the first volume of The Legend of the Condor Heroes. As it says there, over 3 million copies sold worldwide. That's within the Chinese diaspora. This features a character, Go Jing. And Go Jing and his wife are the main protagonists in this series. And it's a 4-volume series, so it's very long, lots of characters. The opening scene features a martial arts bout. And it has the original images or drawings that were in the books. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, let me just look. Yeah, these are the original drawings. This is an example of one. This is the original drawings that were actually in the newspapers when this book was initially published. In all the translations, even the e-reader translations, they include the drawings. Where are you? So yeah, this is the opening scene. And again, you see, atypical of martial arts fiction is this kind of approach. So you get a sense of the kind of stories that you're reading. They're very action-oriented. And this series in particular, Legend of the Condor Heroes, is more atypical than Deer in the Cauldron. And I'm going to show you this is the e-reader version of the Legend of the Condor Heroes. This is volume 2. All of these can be purchased through Amazon or usually through Amazon is probably the best way, or through one of the Kindle and Kobo sites. You can purchase them online, and they're less expensive, obviously, than the hardcover or even the softcover version. So all 4 volumes have now been published. This is volume 2 of the Legend of the Condor Heroes. Now I'll just get to volume 3. Need light. I don't know if you can see, but that's A Snake Lies in Waiting. That's volume 3. And that's the final volume in the series, A Heart Divided. All right. And one of the unique things about Jin Yong's novels, obviously, is that they've all been made into films, movies, and TV series. And they're best translated, actually, on the silver screen anyway, as a television series because of the length of the stories and the numerous amount of characters in the novels. As I may have said in the past in talking about martial arts or jianghu fiction, is that what carries the story is the plot. There is characterization, but really it's one event after another. The thing about Eastern or Asian or Chinese fiction is that the plot is constant and it's constantly changing. That's one of the things that I find that is kind of different from reading Western fiction. But I'll show you some of the TV series that you can get in English, with English subtitles anyway, through in your local, if you're anywhere close to a local Chinatown. So this is the TVB version, the television series of Legend of the Condor Heroes. That's Go Jing on the cover and his wife. And I'll show you the sequel. This is the very, I think, 1980s version of the story that you're seeing there. The sequel is this one, The Return of the Condor Heroes. And the main protagonist is Yang, and he's the he's the lead protagonist, and this actress. Let's see if I can see her name. Yeah, I think that's Amy Chan and Andy Lau. Anyway, so that's Return of the Condor Heroes, a TV series. And this is the modern version. This is the most recent version, considered one of the best versions, again with English subtitles. That's with Liu Yifei and Wang Xiaoming. All right. So if you enjoyed watching this into a look into Chinese fantasy, into the world of jianghu and martial arts fiction, and it's one of the literary, very high quality actually, literary forays you can do in reading the Jin Yong novels, which are a treat for anybody who's interested in good literature, actually. And if you did, remember to give me that thumbs up for like. Click on like. And thanks everyone for your subscribing. And feel free always to comment. And let me know if you know anything about modern Chinese literature. and even in the past Chinese literature. There are translations, there's even fan translations of these novels. But obviously, the professional translators are probably the best bet you can get in terms of getting high quality and literary quality literature. This series and the Deer in the Cauldron series is the series to get. So again, remember to like. Thanks everyone for subscribing, and again, feel free to comment. Okay, thanks. Bye.